Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the least optimized playthrough of Borderlands 2 in the entirety of the universe. It is a spectacular and colossal failure of a success. We do in fact complete the game, as you may have noticed from the title. These are labeled X number of 25. There are 25 episodes in total. We are not even close to halfway there yet, as you can tell, because the number 9 is not even close to I guess 12 is the halfway point. So we still got a ways to go, but we do in fact beat the game. We simply do not complete it. We do not do every single side quest, every mission. For those of you who are just tuning in, again, there's 8 episodes prior to this of fun and wacky hijinks and madcap scenarios. But if you just want to start from here, we have on the main mission, we just had the the ultimate catch a ride. We Lilith and our fellow Vault Hunters and what have you have vamoosed Sanctuary away from Handsome Jack's nefarious attack. So that's where we're at in the narrative. So now we're having to make our way back to Sanctuary's relocation. And so far we have completed the Halloween, Christmas, and Thanksgiving Headhunter DLCs or packs or however you want to think of them, the mini DLCs. And we have not done, or haven't even started the 2 DLCs that we are going to be doing, which is Captain Scarlet and her Pirate's Booty and Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. So those are yet to come. They will be a part of this playthrough, but there's a lot of side missions in the main game that we don't really touch on. But we do ultimately fell the warrior. Spoiler alert, we do fell the warrior, and we do complete the Wham Bam Island, which is the Easter DLC, and then I don't even remember what the actual one's called, but the St. Patrick's / Valentine's Day, which I guess St. Patty's is that in March? I want to say that's February, right? It's February or March, and then of course Valentine's Day is February. Dang, when is St. Patrick's Day? I feel bad now. It might even be April. Goodness gracious. I could look it up, but I don't want you to have to hear the click-clack of keys as I search through that. So we are in the fridge. There is a moderately, I mean, they have these cool little like kind of side missions in the first one and in this one, where it's like you fight off hordes of enemies. But at least in the first one, when you do it, there aren't as many, but you don't have. Oh, and by the way, we did acquire we have the Bee shield, which I don't think it's equipped at the moment. As I said before, we finally got it around midpoint of episode 7, but we have right now we have still not committed to the Bee as a way of life, as a style of play. And so I'm using it when it seems most convenient. But sooner or later, and I believe it's within the next episode or so, I decide to just lean into it. And so even at times when having the Bee would suck, and Hunter's Grotto. So we came back because I've got the Bee, and I've got, as you can see there, the Volcano. That's the weapon we have here. It is a legendary sniper rifle with incendiary capabilities. And I don't remember, the keyword is like Pele demands a sacrifice or something. So it's a very powerful effect, but I can't remember what the actual enhancement is. It's just so if anybody remembers, the last time we fought this little turd muffin, he did kill us once, I think, but we couldn't really make much of a dent in him. Our weaponry was vastly inferior. But here you can see this is a wetland drifter, which is 9 levels higher than us, has a skull and everything, and with our mighty Volcano sniper rifle and the Bee, we are whittling it down its life force with relative swiftness. I mean, if we were down there, we were not doing the chicken poo version of sniping it from a place where he can't get to us, we would still be in a lot of trouble. I mean, we're not making that much progress on it. But it's still a testimony to the Bee and its power. Like, okay, we did just get a critical there. I was like, most of the time we're not even getting criticals. We're just doing superficial damage. But I came back here not to do this DLC because I'm not particularly interested in it. And as I didn't include it in the list of playthroughs. But I just wanted to get my vengeance on the Drifter from our last confrontation to put the fear of whatever I named Salvador in this version, Goover Snacks or something, and to just go, yeah, look at the bee go. So that is the trademark noise that you're hearing when you fire off an amped shot or a shot that has extra kick to it. It's got that little. It's rewarding. It's fun, especially if you do it. If you've got like a, we eventually do get the Sandhawk, which is a really nifty SMG. We didn't get the best version of it. I can't remember what. Let's see. Oh, and that's the other one I forgot to mention. We did also acquire the fastball. So for those who I don't think I mentioned it before, but we got the Volcano. We did the Marcus Mercenary Day DLC. I did that off stream or off recording. Look at that, 1100 XP. And that's really all I wanted. So I'm just going to be like, look, I kicked your butt. I'm awesome. You're dead. And then I leave. I was seeing if anything else had come to try to challenge my dominance, but nothing had. So I'm bailing out again. But we got very, very lucky. Usually you have to farm for quite some time to get legendaries. But so I went off stream. We did the Marcus Mercenary Day thing, as I was saying. I think I did that 3 times, and the Volcano was there on the train, which was fabulous. And then I went to Bull. He is an assassin, I believe. It was a mission we'd already had. I went back to farm him. I think that took me about 6 or 7 tries. And I was able to procure the fastball, which is a grenade that has not as much yield as a normal grenade, but it is like point blank. It's magnified. It's like throwing a baseball, essentially, just a very powerful explosive baseball. So it's a straight line throw. Doesn't have quite the range of a different grenade, of a normal grenade, or the explosive yield. It doesn't. It's there to take out a singular big target. Bigger the better, because it means you have less likely to completely whiff. And so we do use it to great effect, and it's just really cool. You throw it, you just boom, and the thing just drops. Almost everything, at least at this point in the game, because I don't remember what it's at. We'll see when we bring the items up again. It's not at a very high level. It's whatever level Bull was when we beat him the first time. So it's probably technically underpowered at this point, but it's still a freaking awesome grenade. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know we get a Bee upgrade later on in the playthrough, and we get a Volcano upgrade. Crazy enough, those two are, I think we get natural drops for both of them. But we don't upgrade our fastball. And I don't know what I was doing there. I believe I was just making sure that the turret was working. Crapola. Yeah, sorry. I don't want to pause the video because that's going to create a kerfuffle with the edit, but hopefully we'll be able to see momentarily what level the fastball is at. But it really doesn't matter. It's going to pack a punch. It's just going to be a punch that diminishes slowly over time. Still effective. It's still going to be a more powerful one of, like, shot for shot. It's going to be more powerful than any weapon we have. It's just not going to be as awesome. Okay, so there I was just checking the mission status, which was just to shoot down projectiles.
I'm so sick of coming up with names for it. You know what? Boner farts.
That's right. Boner farts. So instead of Ferrovores, he just gave up. Our friend. Yeah, Boner fart. So he was trying to give them cool names for a while, and then when he just finally got tired of that, he just called them. Which, honestly, that is the kind of name that you would say if you were just kind of fed up with something. You're just, okay, whatever, Boner fart. Like, that does sound like a name that it probably, if you were a writer, it probably, they just had him in a room. There's like 5 writers, and it was like, okay, you just think of a like, blah name. Like, I'm just tired of thinking of something. Like, what's an insulting name or a goofy name or whatever that just comes to your mind? Like, okay, Boner fart. I could totally see that being a thing. It has that ring to it where it wasn't like particularly well thought out. It was just off the top of your head. I don't know how I can justify that. I don't know how I can describe that, but for some reason it does strike me as whoever came up with it, they did it off the cuff as well. just like Sir Hammerlock did. And that's the most organic way to do it. And if you have enough talented people that have just a natural sense of humor, a naturally quirky way of phrasing things, 1 out of 6 is bound to come up with something that's usable. I think my first thing would have been booger something. Booger snot. That's what just came to my mind. So clearly I'm not one of those people. Or if I am, I've got some kind of nasal fixation right now. But anyway, my general philosophy when I'm playing this, and in really any RPG type game, is playing through the main story. Now, if I get my butt kicked by a baddie or a boss of some kind, my strategy automatically becomes hardcore, level up on side quests, and don't fight anything big until you are overpowered. So that's kind of like just my revenge. Like I don't want to be stomped into the ground again, so I go overkill. But typically, until or unless that happens, my strategy is try to note all the side quests that I'm picking up and try to have the ones activated that are paralleling my journey, so I don't end up in an area that I have to complete for the main quest and miss out on a side quest that's just going to give me free XP, essentially. Like that was, and this game does do that a few times. There are some quests where they give it to you after you've cleared out like a really pain in the butt area. You get the quest after you come back, which makes sense narratively, I guess, because until you've come back with something to indicate that you were successful in that particular area of the map, you wouldn't be bequeathed another quest for that area. But it sucks because that means you have to redo it. And I'm thinking of one area in particular, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's kind of like a little bit of a maze. It's kind of a pain in the butt to navigate, and there's just a lot of stuff you have to kill. And yeah, it gives you a quest after that. I think that might be because I don't think we did the Splinter Cell or Splinter Group or whatever it's called, which is a spoof on the Ninja Turtles. And I don't think we do the Bat one here. There's a kind of a Batman quest thing where it's one of these little turd muffins here that we're scoping out, but he's like dressed kind of like Batman. They don't do anything that would be like copyright image infringement or copyright infringement, but he's in a cave by himself, and I don't remember if he even has any lines, but you get the idea. He's a Batman spoof. And I don't think we do that quest either, which sucks because, those are fun, but I think at this point I'm just going, you know what, there's a lot of miles in this game, and I knew I was going to be doing a kind of a video like this, a video series like this, but I didn't want it to drag on for too long because I still have, not that there's any demand for it, but I still have Mario RPG. I've still got, I think, about half of that left to do. That only took me 15 episodes. And it's going to be the same style as this. Free hands. I'm watching in retroactive. I'm watching and retroactively commenting. In theory, making a better overall experience as my gameplay rocks and my commentary is insightful and life-changing. Don't snicker. I heard you snicker. Don't snicker. Don't scoff. Scoffing does not become you. Scoffers are jerk faces. So even though nothing what I said may actually be accurate, it is important that you treat me with respect. Not really. Those little guys are creepy. They are definitely of the cannibal persuasion. And they're like, I smell delicious. They're kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were kind of modeled after Gollum or Smeagol. This did come out after Lord of the Rings, but even then, like the Rankin Bass animated version of The Hobbit is terrifying. And I think that version of Gollum is far scarier and more unsettling than the Peter Jackson version. Peter Jackson almost is like a pull string Gollum. He's almost like almost cute enough to just be like this little doll. Whereas Brother Theodore, who does the voice of Gollum in the, I believe it was 78 or 79 version of The Hobbit, he just has a freaky voice. And apparently he did stand-up, or, he was like a one-act show kind of thing. I believe he was from Germany. But, he's just, his natural voice is creepy. I think, he obviously, he adjusted a little bit to do the Gollum part, but even then he was mostly just going Gollum. Gollum, but his voice. I mean, just look at Brother Theodore, and if you look at hear his Gollum performance, it is nightmare fuel. It really is just a creepy voice. Like I can't imagine. I would love to. I mean, obviously, we can't do it now. He passed away a while ago. But in this world of internet, it would be hilarious to hear him doing like stand up or have him saying boner fart or something funny like that. It would be really cool. But I don't know. It's the same thing. There's like a dearth of outtakes for the guy. If y'all have seen The Crow, the main bad guy for The Crow, he's always got long hair. He was in. The last thing I remember him being in was Count of Monte Cristo. He was the jailer on. Oh, this is really testing my brain. What was not Pontoon? That's Bridge. The place essentially where the prison that Edmond Dantes is sent off to. I just can't remember the name of it now. But he's the jailer, essentially, or the prison administrator. Before that, he was Rochefort in Disney's Three Musketeers with Chris O'Donnell. I mean, look, if you look, it's crazy. If you look at Hollywood history, there's like a actor and actress who are crowned as the hotness for a certain period of time. It doesn't really seem to last more than a decade, typically. But it tends to be a little bit shorter, I think, for women. Like Jennifer Lawrence was the hotness for, like, she was the most recent one that was like, ooh, like she was the one. And maybe it just depends on how well, like, the projects they're a part of do. Like, they're going to be in a bunch of projects. That's just kind of the nature of it. If you are crowned, you are going to be the person that everybody wants, in theory, wants to see. And even if they don't, you're going to put them in everybody's face anyway, because they are just the hotness. And I think it's just a matter of do you get lucky. Like Harrison Ford became the hotness, but he got very lucky. He was part of 2 successful trilogies in Star Wars, Indiana Jones. The Fugitive did very well. He was in some clunkers, but then what was another one that did really well? I mean, then he had like Air Force One. He was Jack Ryan from the Tom Clancy books for a few. Clear and Present Danger, I think. Those also did well, but they were of that ilk. And it doesn't mean that there wasn't more than one. 'Cause I mean, like back then, Denzel was doing his thing. I don't think he went back as far as Harrison Ford, but he was doing stuff at that time as well. And all his movies were pretty successful, or most of them were successful. But like he was kind of, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, maybe it's only for the actresses more so. But I mean, like Chris O'Donnell, like him and Orlando Bloom were both set up to be the next thing. Orlando Bloom got his launch from Lord of the Rings. I mean, just one of those very fortunate stories where pretty sure he had just finished like his acting program at Cambridge or wherever he was, or he was finishing it. But it was, I mean, his career was very, very brand new when he got that epic role, that role of a lifetime, essentially. And I believe Pirates of the Caribbean was supposed to be his vehicle, his popularity. And Johnny Depp, his Captain Jack, was supposed to just be a colorful character, a fun character. But his popularity eclipsed that of Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom got one more movie in the franchise. And I'm not saying that it was, I don't know the behind the scenes that it was supposed to be more, but it just seemed like he was being set up. Same thing with Chris O'Donnell. Chris O'Donnell was his breakout role of Three Musketeers? Or was it Batman and Robin, or was it something else? Typically, it's a award-winning role that puts these people on the map. And then it's like, okay, we know they've got the chops, or we've decided they have the chops. I mean, just because you win an Oscar doesn't mean you're awesome. Oh, there's that toof of the Bee. I'd like to say that we stick with the Bee from here on out, but I just don't know. But you can tell him and Chris O'Donnell, they were put in a bunch of projects early on, and then just the projects they were in either fizzled out, or in Orlando Bloom's case, he got upstaged by Johnny Depp. And so he lost the pirate vehicle. I think that's my interpretation of it. Maybe he was only meant to be in 2 movies and that was it. But I imagine it was supposed to be more of his deal. And then just Captain Jack, just the popularity of the character took over. I was like, well, we'll give you more of that. And, but I mean, Orlando Bloom hasn't really been anything that I've heard of. I mean, like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of modern cinema, so it's very possible he's been in a lot of things, but he kind of faded out. And Chris O'Donnell, I think they really were trying to push him. He was in the Batman, but that's the problem. He was in Batman Forever, which seems to be more or less divided. It wasn't divisive. It wasn't that bad, I don't think. But some people did not like the more cartoony nature of it compared with Tim Burton's version. But certainly Batman and Robin did nobody's career. It's amazing that George Clooney's career survived that debacle. That was largely considered to be a complete flop. And I believe it was Schumacher, right? Joel Schumacher that did that one. And whoever the director was, he never said that he was trying to pay homage to Batman 66. But I think if that's what he was trying to do, I think he succeeded. And I think he could have averted a lot of ire or a lot of the guffaws from people if he was trying to do a modern telling of Batman 66, because it was perfect for an Adam West. Like if you were trying to bring Adam West's Batman into current day, of course, being 1998 or whenever that came out, I think it was perfect. It was campy, it was goofy, it was ridiculous. Batman had his goofy little belts or whatever. I mean, the only thing, George Clooney's Batman had nipples, and I guess you could kind of see him in Adam West as well, but they weren't pronounced. If they were there, they just happened to be there because he was wearing a very thin costume. Whereas with George Clooney's, it was an intentional addition or inclusion or focus. But it had Batgirl, which was another hallmark of, well, not hallmark, but it was another big part of, I think it was the second or third season of Batman 66. And I keep saying that, I mean, obviously, if it's multiple seasons, it wasn't just in 1966, but that's that style of, I think that's how you can refer to that style of Batman, as Batman 66. But yeah, I think it's a perfect adaptation of Adam West's Batman for the modern era, but it was not presented that way. It was not defended that way. And if that was not the intention, then it was not great. Okay, so our volcano looked like it was level 14, so already way underpowered, if I saw that correctly. Maybe level 15, but yeah, it's five levels back, which for most legendaries puts them in the more obscure. But it's a legendary, doggone it, and it's got the bee behind it, which I think keeps it relevant and relatively effective. But yeah, I think at this point we've committed to the bee. But yeah, anyway, it's just a very bizarre thing. It seems like, but I mean, like Brad Pitt, I mean, his career, he was the hotness for a limited time, but his career kind of endured past that. Same thing with, well, I don't know about Johnny Depp. I mean, he had a resurgence. It was kind of like Robert Downey Jr. Both of them, I feel like, hit a lull in their career. Same thing with Tom Cruise. He hit a lull. He had his first iteration, which was the Top Gun, Days of Thunder, whether you liked it or not. It was, I think it did well. I can't remember what else. I mean, that was the Jerry Maguire era for him. The first Mission Impossible, I think there was a longer break between the first Mission Impossible and then everything that came after. I think once he hit Mission Impossible 2, I think it was a pretty regular, every 2 or 3 years they were cranking out another one of those. I could be wrong in that. Don't hold me to that. I didn't do the research on this beforehand because I didn't know this was what I was going to end up talking about for a minute. But he had a resurgence. He kind of lost some popularity after the Katie Holmes thing. Like in the marriage, I don't think had gotten a lot of guff, but the way the relationship went after that, and then the introduction or the prominence of Scientology in his life. He had that. I think it was on Oprah. He had that interview where he's hopping on the couch. So his career kind of went into remission, like a lot of people's. Again, Harrison Ford, I think as well. He didn't really have a resurgence. I don't think you could call Disney Star Wars a resurgence. Could have been if they made a lot of different decisions, but as it was, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to be a part of Jedi. He wanted he wanted Han Solo to be done after Empire. So however they got him back, I guarantee it was the promise, hey, you're going to have minimal screen time and we'll kill you off. Definitively, you will never come back. But even then, I think he does make a cameo in The Force Awakens. I don't remember. Certainly didn't bother to watch it. But I heard they at least brought his image back. But I don't know if he actually had any more interaction beyond that. I mean, the same thing with Indiana Jones. Although I don't think he had the same amount of disdain for Indiana Jones that he did for Han Solo as a character. Which is weird because, I mean, Indiana Jones is great as an episodic. You know, I mean, Lucas said they based him and Spielberg kind of based him off of the serial heroes, you know, the Flash Gordon type things. I'm not saying they based him off of Flash Gordon, but like that whole idea, that serialized type episodic deal where you're not necessarily looking for, you know, character growth or arc. It's like, oh, hey, here's the gal that he's going to be with for this particular movie, but we don't expect to see her in the next one. You know, kind of just your swashbuckling type hero. It's just, it's not, like you can watch The Last Crusade by itself and same thing with the Temple of Doom. Now, I wouldn't recommend it. I think Temple of Doom, just in pretty much every aspect, except perhaps the visual hijinks, is inferior to the other two movies. But that's my own preference. I actually like Last Crusade the best. When I run low on stuff, that's when you're going to see me start chucking fastballs because I'm just trying to get a kill. I think Gunzerker is the one where you can actually, or maybe it's Craig. I thought this was the one where you could throw grenades in Fight for Your Life, but I might be wrong. I don't believe, if that is the case, I don't think we acquire that skill in this game. But I think it is. It's definitely an option for one of the builds of one of the characters. I just can't remember which one it is, but I think it's him. Or maybe it said you can throw 2 grenades at this. I don't remember. Not an expert. But again, if I was doing a proper playthrough, an actual playthrough where I was assuming that nobody knew anything about the game and we're just kind of starting cold turkey, I would, you know, go through. I would be playing it live because then I would be talking about the skill tree and how we're going to build that. But there are just so many crazy builds out there, like smart people who know how to, who understand better. Like there are so many times where I'll look at a skill and be like, oh, what a piece of crap, I'd never touch that, and I dump all my skill into something else, and then I watch people that are actually kicking butt on their playthrough. So the proof is in the pudding. That the results are that they're being awesome, and I see that they actually favored some of the skills that I just disparaged or wrote off as insignificant. And they're like, oh, if you're gonna put anything into this one skill, just do 1 point because that's really all you need. Everything else is just diminishing returns. And I'm like, dang it, I sunk everything into that. The great thing about Borderlands, though, unlike some RPGs, although I guess not all, is that you can reset the skill points for a nominal fee. There is a cost to it, but it's nothing that would deter you from doing it, unless you've died so many times that you're flat broke. In which case, ironically enough, that would be an indication that you need to reset your skill tree, and yet you don't have the funds for it. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. But hopefully you realized your deficiency before it got that bad. Speaking of deficiency, how many shots do I have to do with that? Well, I think we know I think we established that as a very, very, very low. See, and it doesn't tell you that. It gives you your stats, but it doesn't tell you how bad it is. Oh, see, our B is charged, so we're making some damage. Even with the fact that we're shooting robot targets, they are underpowered compared to us. We are much stronger, but we're shooting with a freaking incendiary sniper rifle, and we're still taking them down pretty quick. So. But anyway, that's my thing. I'm trying to not fill a niche, but understand my place in the playthrough ecosystem. I can't offer the best strategy, which honestly, I gotta believe that might get tiring. Like, it's like, okay, give me your build and I'll go do it. I don't necessarily want to watch you play your awesome build. I want to play your awesome build, and I want to thank you for your awesome build. You know, just put in there somewhere, hey, this is the build, this is how I do it. But I mean, there are those videos. There are people that actually will go through their skill tree, show you where they allocate the stuff, and then they'll show you a brief clip of them playing with it so you can just see how awesome it is. So I don't even know if that's like the ideal playthrough. Obviously, the best playthrough is the one that happens when the game first comes out. And you get these people that beat the game within 12 hours of when it's released. It's crazy. But of course, I mean, those are going to be the ones that draw the most. I mean, a game, I'm playing this game, was it 20 years old now? I can't be that old. But it's pretty doggone old. I think it's 2009 or something. It's an old game. So a playthrough like this, I'm assuming that most people have already seen a traditional playthrough. They've seen the story. I don't really have anything to offer there, so that's why I'm not doing that kind of playthrough. It's just I mean, for crying out loud, we just spent 10 minutes talking about Batman. So, I think I can safely say that other than playing the least optimized version of this character, I am also talking about things that have the least to do with Borderlands ever. Which isn't really something to hang my hat on, I guess, but it's different. That's all I'm going to say. It's different. And I just want to say thank you. Videos seem to be averaging about 20 views, which is fine. Like, that's great. I mean, even if it was just 5, like, that's fine too. But to you folks who have been continuously watching these, Baldric, I think you're one of them. The others, folks, I don't really know, but I appreciate you taking a gander at these. It's weird, like, how these things work. You just never know where the views come from. I think it was the 4th episode, has like 78 views. Doesn't mean that people watched the whole thing or that people were even interested, but it did at least get that many eyes on it initially. But then videos after that were down at 20 as an average. Again, doesn't impact. I mean, like I said, the game was already played. I'm not going to not put them up just because they're not doing so great, because all it requires is me talking for an hour about the game or whatever comes to mind, and we can read it out. So anyway, just grateful for the folks who find some value in this, even if they don't watch the whole thing or they're not necessarily enamored. But so constructors can be a problem. The great thing, I mean, really, this is the only time where I don't mind having to fight for my life, because it puts me right. It's really hard to stay that close to one of those things when you are alive. As long as you have not gone down enough times that your second wind is incredibly short, as long as you've got an effective weapon, going down right in front of a constructor is probably one of the easiest ways to beat it, because you're uninterrupted in your assault on its ugly, basic, red dotted face. I'm not gonna lie, folks, man, I keep getting the Jones, and I'm really tempted. I know most of my game systems didn't make it into the Airbnb where we're at right now, the temporary living situation, but I know the Xbox One did, and that has my Modern Warfare 2 on it, and this reminds me of the hangar level. I'm like, man, I want to play that again. I don't know if there's anybody that still plays that game. So that's kind of what I'm afraid. I'm going to do all the work, get everything pulled out, get the capture card and everything going, and nobody's going to be playing, and it's going to take me forever to get into games. But I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a level 19. That's kind of a mini boss. We're just lighting it up. Now, granted, the bee is down. So right now we're just relying on our volcano. And we are not able to keep our shields up, so we are... But yeah, 4,400 points is pretty good. But yeah, I think this is probably where I said, screw it, we're just going to go all B. Because you see, I'm not switching out, even though this is not the ideal situation to be running the B. You want to run it really until you get taken, until it goes away. Then you probably want to find cover and get yourself a better shield. Or get a shield that's more apt for the situation, something that's going to take a little more firepower from whatever's shooting at you. The B is best for single target. Like right now, were I not dead, this would be an ideal time for it. It's not good when you're in the middle of a horde. So I would like to say, I know the next part coming up, because I've played this a million times, we're trying to get to a place where we activate a beacon that we can...
The beacon? Good. We can use that to request an uncalibrated fast travel unit from the moon base.
Exactly what I was...
You'll need a quiet place to set up the beacon. Head to the town of Overlook. Thanks to Hyperion's mining operations, the people of Overlook suffer from the skull shivers. They won't disturb us.
Right. They won't. But we will definitely have our hands full. But I mean, that's kind of a mask. It's one of those things where you have to fend off waves of bad guys. That's going to be the test if I've committed fully to the bee at this point or not. If we keep the bee during that entire encounter, we're probably good with the bee for the rest of the time. Because if there was any place where you do not want to be using the bee, it's when you just have hordes of enemies coming at you and you're just wide open. Cover really isn't much of a thing in these games.
This is what I don't get about you bad guys. You know the hero's gonna win, but you just don't die quickly. Man, example, this one guy in New Haven, right?
Think about Handsome Jack. I mean, yes, he's delusional. And yes, he's wrong. We are the quote-unquote good guys, only because we're less bad than the bad guys. But he's got to know the bad guys are tenacious. And he was like, that's what I don't understand about you bad guys. You just keep coming. Now, I know what the writers are trying to do. They're just trying to show how delusional he is and thinking that even as he describes his, masochistic or sadistic tendencies and his violence, which honestly, especially Salvador with his past, really isn't too far from what we're doing. He just happens to be the antagonist. Some of these characters are no better than Jack is. We just don't have his power. I mean, but imagine if Salvador was in his shoes. If he was the head of Hyperion, Pandora would not look all that much better. So maybe that's why I chose him. It was a redemption arc, because in so doing, I can control him. I can make sure that he is not doing naughty things, like cannibalizing people and what have you. So I can impose my morality on this world through the Gunzerker, except for when I'm bleeding out. So we are not using the bee right now, so that does not necessarily bode well for it. But you can see when I call it a glass cannon, it's because that's what we are. It's a piddly little shield that goes down very quickly and leaves us very exposed. But when it's active, we are wicked awesome. I think in general, that's the way I like to play. I'm not necessarily a tanky guy. I do when I play like I don't know if it's my preferred class, but like playing like Diablo 2, I was the barbarian. It was just melee is just easier to ease into. There's less of a skill curve, really. You try to beef up your stats, beef up your armor, beef up everything so that you can just tank all the damage. See, there goes that fastball. Look at that. Fastball just takes him down. I mean, it is almost at our level, and we were still, but we only had 4 grenades, so that was pretty much. That's where now we're dual wielding sniper rifles. I mean, it worked, but again, not optimized. But again, I'm only doing that because I don't really think I've got a very good. Oh yeah, let's not try to shotgun the guy from 600 yards away. That's not how far we are. Ha ha ho! And that's one. The other big horde area is, if I was going to do Torg's campaign, which I've done several times, but that's just to get enough tokens so that I can go to the vending machines and try to get unkempt heralds. The best way to farm those, you get like 20 of them I don't know. You get a certain amount for beating the badasses in there, and I think at least for the first 3 playthroughs you get tokens for winning as well. And then after that you don't get anything, but you at least get tokens for beating the badasses. But they are that's another area where the bee is not good, because you're guaranteed as soon as you walk in the door, right, as soon as you shoot somebody, you're gonna get targeted down, and you don't want to have a non-existent shield at that point. You're not going to last very long. But I don't know why I said that, because we're not doing that this playthrough. I thought about it, but then I realized, hey, I've already done all that work, got myself some unkempt heralds. Why don't I just grab the guns from my stash and put them on this character here, instead of just reinventing the wheel or reattaching the wheel or recreate. I don't, something to do with the wheel. I know Telltale did. They did a game. They did a Borderlands game. I'm curious about that too. But you know how a lot of games like Warhammer and Warcraft, like all these other games, they have novels based on the universe. I don't know that Borderlands. I have to look that up, but I don't think Borderlands actually has any novels. Like I would, for some of these games, I would like a novelization, because obviously the way we play the game and see the events and everything is gonna it's all gonna be different based on the order you choose to go in and what side quests you decide to do. I think it would be interesting for some of these games to have a novelized version of it, you know, describing going through different missions and what, from the developer standpoint, like what they were expecting or wanting you to get from it, and fleshing out the story a little bit more instead of it just being, hey, this guy is there, this is his name, take him out for whatever reason. And then as you're going through it, I don't know. I think it would be interesting. I just don't know if any writer would want to write that, and how many people would be interested in going that much into a deep dive. I think that really only works if you've got a ton of lore that didn't make it into the game, and it's like, oh, hey, this would be really cool to tell people the backstory of this one character. We did all this work to develop it, but at the end, either the character got scrapped altogether, or we just had to leave most of that out, and he's just a bandit now. But he actually had a story and whatnot. So I'll actually look that up next time. Stand by, because of course I'm the only one with access to the internet. You don't have access to the internet, so I do, and so I will be looking into that myself, and I will let you know what I find. I actually he didn't actually say this, but it's kind of funny to interpret it that way. Essentially somebody saying, my videos are so boring that he found it more entertaining to watch the ice melts. Every time I bring the glass up, there would be less ice. The ice would just melt a little bit more until it vanished completely for the first 25 minutes of the playthrough. Not of this, but of the Legends games that I do. Now that's not what he said. He wasn't trying to insult me, but it was just funny the way, again, you can take anything as an insult, or if you're hyper insensitive or something, or hypersensitive. But even that, I mean, it made it very clear. He's like, I don't know why, but I was just transfixed by like the ice in your glass slowly disappearing with every time you brought it up, until it eventually went away. He's like, I don't know why, but I just found it entertaining. I think that's freaking hilarious. That would catch his attention. But again, it could sound like somebody saying, dude, this game is so boring. It's like I started seeing paint dry and it just caught my attention because there was really nothing else going on. That's not what he said. But I probably could have told that story a little bit differently, and it would have been much more awesome. Do I really run away from him? What am I doing here? Oh, I think I just didn't want to be away from things where I could get my second win, but that second win is not lasting very long. I don't think we make it. No, there's no way. There's no way. No. But I found that amusing. But I mean, I'm like that too. I mean, sometimes, I could be at a circus and you're watching, acrobats are doing these death-defying twists and turns and flips and everything 3,000 feet over the ground. And I'm like, dude, look at this peanut. That's like half the size of a normal peanut. And like, there's high-level acrobatics and near-death experiences happening right in front of your face, and you're looking at the peanut. I'm like, but it's so small. Look at this. It's crazy. Look how tiny it is. It never happened, but that's kind of my thing. So I'm always amused when somebody else takes notice of some minuscule fact, but they just find it very interesting. The problem is you just have to know that most other people aren't going to find it interesting. I cannot tell you the amount of times where I have excitedly told a friend, oh my gosh, did you notice they did this and this and this? He's like, no, I was paying more attention to the plot, or, paying more attention to the whatever. I'm like, I know, but it's just so weird that they would have these things going. And no matter how well you explain yourself, no matter how well you articulate exactly what captured your attention, they don't seem to care. And I found it peculiar until somebody did that to me. Like they pointed out some random thing, and I'm like, who cares? It's a tragedy. It really is. The amount of times that we have, as people, that we have overlap in our interests, in our perspectives. There's not a lot of it. For as many things that we engage in, as many opportunities that are out there, it can be very hard to find people who find the same things funny, the same things interesting, or at least it seems to be that way. I mean, there's 300 million people in the U.S. alone, over 300 million. A lot of them are older, a lot of them are younger. Not everybody's watching this stuff, but you'd think it's pretty good odds they'd find at least 1,000 people who have the same, share the same interests, but they could be all over the place. You never know. I think I should say it's rare to find them in your vicinity, within the immediate reach of your life. That was a really weird way to phrase. I don't know what I was talking about. I have no excuse. It's not the middle of the afternoon. It's late afternoon, but I should not be mentally exhausted. And I don't feel mentally exhausted, but I know I'm saying a bunch of nonsensical stuff. So let's focus. Let's focus in on what's happening here. I'm still using a very, very outdated gun, but that's because I have not found a decent, other than the sniper rifle, I haven't found a decent corrosive weapon. Some playthroughs, you pick them up like candy. Well, oh my gosh, that's not the right analogy. You pick them up, they're as common as pebbles. Look at that. Bam, softball. Bam, 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 bam. Before we can do jack squat, I have just wrecked. Oh crap. Alright, well, made a good run of it. I think it must be soon after this that I expand. Typically, I don't worry about expanding the grenade, the amount of grenade I can carry, until I get the fastball, and then it's like, all right, I can actually use this a lot. Other than that, I typically prefer transfusion. They're not that strong, but I do like being able to get intravenous health, or health sent to me intravenously. These things are just ridiculously overpowered. There's really... So yeah, I've got health regen going right now, I believe. Man, I'm getting wrecked. This is embarrassing. I think I'm going to be able to finish it because as I said, this is the best time you get up there with a shotgun. That explosive shotgun does the thing, and you only get 400. If you beat a constructor and you get 4,000 XP, it's like, okay, it was a tough boss. You get 400 XP, it's like, I probably should have taken that thing out pretty easy. The fact that I got wrecked as much as I did is indicative of a great deficiency on my part. And we are not using the Bee right now, so I still have not committed. I hope I'm remembering correctly in the fact that I did do that. That I did eventually commit to full-time Bee. But I'm out of ammo. Going back to the old shotgun. The old trusty shotgun. And I don't know why I spend a lot of time shooting from the hip with a freaking sniper rifle. I guess when it's corrosive, I'm using it not so much for strategic, incisive shooting. I'm literally just trying to smother them with corrosive damage, and so that they eventually just corrode. When I'm trying to do a headshot, then I use the scope. And I think I mentioned this earlier. At some point, I do try quick scoping like you can do in Call of Duty. You really can't do it quite like that, but I think I had moderate success. And I mean, I do emphasize moderate, and I didn't keep at it because I kept feeling guilty, even though I'm not playing against a human. I'm quick scoping soured me so much to it that I just kind of recoil at the idea of doing it, even if I know I'm not going to be annoying other human beings with it. It's like, it's not, that's so counter to what you're supposed to do with like the whole point of a sniper thing is not running around and using it like a one-shot pistol. Like a Magnum or something. It's supposed to be set up, be patient, breathing, all that good stuff. Not that any of these games are shooting simulators, but it's the idea, you know? It's the idea. But they could have certainly adjusted that in Call of Duty had they wanted to, but I guess they either like it or they don't mind it. And so quick scoping has been a thing for many iterations. I don't know where the state of the game is now. I have no interest in any of the modern versions of Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2 is probably the only version I'll play anymore. I think I played the version after that just to get the zombie deal. My friend was big on the zombie playthrough stuff. So I think we did get the next iteration after that just to play zombies. But I haven't played the campaign on that. I haven't done a lot of the maps. That's always very helpful. Getting a level up right when you're about to die. Did he just punch me with his gun? I think he did. See, that's kind of stuff you don't notice when you're in the heat of battle. You're like, wait, what? But I was watching there, it looks like he went whack. I just tried to poke me with a gun. I'm like, that's not how you use that. Which is why you have failed and I am alive. And why I'm running into the back of the hangar for some reason.
So much choices.
So yeah, anybody who's played this game before, you're probably looking at my skill tree and going, what are you doing, dude? But I mean, I could definitely see the hurt one, the punch. I mean, I very rarely use that, but it's supposed to just give you a knockback and do extra damage. But it's melee. We don't really use that a ton. So you could say that skill point should be going somewhere else. Class mods are always a bummer. If you get a legendary one, I think that's worth building a character around. I would if I had gotten, I was farming for one kind of at different points, but I think I have one. I have a Gunzerker class mod legendary, but it's on a different system. It's not on Steam. But when I got it, I was like, screw it. I mean, it's legendary. I'll reallocate my skills to synergize.
Full on. Oh, perfect double rainbow all the way. What does this mean? Full on.
So I'll be honest with you. The reason I stopped just now is because this playthrough is the first time I ever heard that. And I think it's gone now. So I think we did something inadvertently. Maybe it was the jump off the cliff or something. We did something that triggered that, because of all my playthroughs, when I heard him do it, I was like, wait a minute, what? I don't remember him ever. And I mean, he really plays it up. Oh, he does it for a while. So I don't know if anybody out there knows what triggers the double rainbow and then Jack's appreciation of the double rainbow. I don't know. But if anybody knows, let me know. But when you've played through a game so many times and you're kind of used to hearing, you don't know verbatim what's going to be said, but you would notice if there's a line out of place. And especially like that, where it's a very grand, very big performance. He's like, oh, you notice it if you haven't heard it before. Same thing. I did a video on, it was unnecessarily complicated, but when Lucas did one of his many, many revisions of the original trilogy, the soundtrack changed very subtly at the end. It's changed in several places, but the big one that I noticed was at the end of Empire Strikes Back. There is at the very, very end, when you see the empty cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, the music does a certain thing, and I can't describe it with my words, and I can't hum it, I can't do whatever, but ultimately what ended up happening, because I listened to it over and over, because I was like, there's a part missing. There was because you have your basic music, your basic melody, and then a lot of times it'll be like in a song, if it's like the last chorus, like, typically a song, you'll hear the chorus 3 different times, and you'll hear it the first 2 times, and the third one, they usually punch it up with something. There'll be an extra vocal, a background vocal, there'll be a chorus, like an actual choir singing, or sometimes there'll be an instrumental addition, and it's typically a little subtle, but it's enough to give that final chorus just enough like hoorah to really feel like the end of the song, where it's just really all coming together and you're really just kind of hitting home the feel of this chorus. And I remember hearing it like Michelle Branch. I don't know if anybody's in there, but there was a song everywhere. The last chorus of that song, or there is a, I don't even know what it is, but it's an extra instrument that's used, and it just has this very, again, I don't know how to describe it. I don't even know why I bothered trying, but it just added a little more gravitas to that final deal, and it just made it feel different. It had a little more of that the longing that is expressed in that song, or the ache. It added to that, but it's again very, very subtle. A lot of my friends never heard of it. Like, oh, what about that one part? And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, but in Empire Strikes Back, there is an accent, a subtle accent, and it's not there in the remaster. I'm like, why would you change the music? Like, I understand you want to do what you think is visual improvements on the darn thing, but why would you remix? Because I thought it was actually the elimination of that particular aspect of the song. When I listened back to it very carefully, it actually they switched the mix. Really, it was still there. It was just so quiet, so far in the background that you barely could hear it. And yeah, it was probably about 75% lower in its volume than it was in the original. But it was noticeable when you listen to and you watch that. You've seen that same scene at least 100, 200 times. All it takes is a very subtle change. You're like, wait, this is not what it's supposed to be like. This is very different. Borderlands, a game like this, it's much harder to have one of those moments just because there's so much stuff happening that it's very possible to miss things. And you do stuff in different order, and there's a myriad of reasons why you wouldn't notice it the first or second time, but when you play this at least 20 times, probably combined over the different platforms, when you hear something for the first time, you take notice because you played it for 19 times and you've never had that happen before. That was one of the more elaborate, less articulate, and pointless tangents I've ever been on, I believe. If you can think of another one, don't mention it, because that would be sad for both of us. I am out of the juice. Oh well. Okay, it's not juice, but it's also not anything. It's no alcohol. It's Zevia. Highly recommend it. As far as I know, I mean, you never know. Some things come to light and you realize, okay, it wasn't that great, but it's like 0 calories, 0 sugar. It is sweetened with stevia. There's no artificial coloring. Every beverage is clear, which is a little weird, but like the root beer is clear. I guess even root beer is colored to make it, which is weird. You would think, why would you like Coca-Cola? I mean, I don't know for a fact if Coke is naturally brown or if they added, but like, why would you add brown coloring to a beverage? Like, when you see like a brown lake, you don't think, oh, that looks so good. Well, if it's really, really brown, if it's really, really polluted, it almost looks like chocolate. It looks like that chocolate lake in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Like, oh, that looks so good. But then you think logically, who would want to drink even chocolate milk out of a lake? Like, that'd be disgusting. I mean, it's got dirt, it's got, fish poop and crap in it. Like, who would want to? Did I just say fish poop and crap? I did, because I was using crap as an extension, not as another word for poop. So it wasn't as redundant as it sounded, but that just means I use the word crap too much. Anywho, brown liquid isn't really thought of as something desirable. So it's kind of befuddling to me that it was weird. I don't know how we survived this, to be honest. I've really screwed up on this part before. Let's see, something about the thing and the stuff. Yeah, I remember there's times where I beat this where I've had to run, and actually I think right there I was having to, because I think I was getting I was going to die from incendiary damage. I was getting very, very close to dying from that. Okay, so I did not use the bee for that encounter. So right where we have not arrived at full bee commitment. Not a big deal. I'm really, really making a big deal out of something that's not a big deal. But that's what you do when you can't think of how to finish a sentence.
The city may be safe right now, but what happens if Hyperion launches another barrage? We've got no shield.
Good point. Let me get on the Echo.
Echo,
Oh,
echo,
good.
echo.
You're not dead.
That's his way of saying, wow, you're a badass.
Right.
Oh, I should have let her finish saying that because we are a bad.
I'd be dead if it weren't for you. But we need a plan. Jack's getting closer and closer to digging up the warrior, and we still don't know where he's got the vault key stashed.
I can help you with that.
You? Damn it, we told you never to contact us again.
Will you please just hear me out?
Sure.
And see, now we talked about in one of the earlier episodes the oddity of having Angel be
It's with me. I'm charging the vault key.
an actual, like, the voice actress. They actually,
Key naturally charges itself once every 200 years.
well, see, we're seeing her there, but like they actually use her likeness. Like it's actually the voice actress. They digitized her a little bit, but it's an actual live action person. And they do it eventually with, I think, Lilith's voice actress as well. I don't know for a fact that she's a voice actress, but they use an actual one. So, but I don't know what the rhyme or reason, because you can see right now we're just getting the waveform for Angel right now. And I'm guessing it's because she's in the bunker, because she's now in... But I mean, if it's just a construct anyway, if she's just presenting herself artificially anyway, I don't know why she would be unable to do that now, but
That doesn't sound good.
there's probably a reason for it. I just haven't picked up on it.
You'll have to get through the final hurdle, a door that will only open for Handsome Jack.
Well, that sounds even worse.
This will be your only opportunity to steal the vault key and stop Jack from controlling the.
I don't know why I'm selectively stopping, because I'm talking over most of it, so you're only getting bits and pieces with absolutely zero context. So, but I guess because there's really nothing else happening, and we still got a little bit of time, so we
What's
do
that supposed to mean?
something else.
Thrown us into a trap. She would have made it sound a little bit possible.
If we're taking that bitch down, I'm coming.
Oh,
Trap
oh.
or not.
Language.
If anyone's gonna shut her down, it has to be you, soldier.
They have these weird little things that they do with the like the animation for the characters, like when they're gesturing, it's kind of got this like little nudge. It's like, you do it, Vault Hunter, you've got to do this. They don't point or anything. It's, I guess, limitations maybe of the character, of the models. They can only move but so much, but they just have these very weird. Oh, so you're doing this, and okay, well, over there's. I don't know. It's fine. It's a drawback, but it's not a hindrance.
For bringing me experiment results from the Hyperion Preserve.
Again, I definitely appreciate that Gearbox went above and beyond to give us a fleshed out story and all these characters. But I mean, again, at its core, what draws people to it is the loot and shoot and trying to get more legendaries and better legendaries and level up and everything. It's less about the story. But I think they correctly surmised that the story was sorely absent in the first one, and that people do like a little something to latch onto. All right, so maybe this is just going around and talking to people. And
Shorty must die. That cross-blocker defaced one of my catch rides, and nobody does that except ladies I want to.
I think I decided I would rather have quests that I just don't address versus just having them all say undiscovered. So I'm discovering the quests so that they're there, and that way, as I move through Pandora, I can choose to, or if I happen to complete quests that I don't even think about, then I can cash them in for the experience points. But I don't think at this point, I don't think I'm really planning to do too many side quests.
New issue of this just in. It's propaganda.
A few years back, I won 2 prizes in Moxie's Underdome. A chest full of loot and Moxie herself. I lost the second prize.
Moxie does get around.
First was the
Sorry, bad timing on my part. Window was down.
those guns again. But if you want
that goes back to a joke we had as I actually did a spring break to Florida. I know, typical, right? Spring break to Florida with, was it Ching? Okay, there's three friends, but then we ended up meeting at different points. We met up with a couple other groups of friends who also went on their own to Florida, and we just all happened to be in the same area, so we connected during the trip. There were 4 of us. Went in my friend's Honda Accord, and I can't remember how it all went down, but at some point we had to roll down the window because we were talking to somebody, and our friend forgot that he had the window down, and we were having to drive real slow through something, and it was because the people that were off on the side of the road had done something stupid or whatever, and he just said whatever. We were just having a conversation. It's just stuff that it wasn't saying anything inflammatory, but just like, man, what the heck is going on? Why are people doing this kind of stupid stuff or something like that? And then we just saw these like glares. Now I'm paraphrasing this story. I don't remember the exact context of everything. I just remember the basic fact was window was down by accident, by happenstance. He forgot to put it back up. We drove by some area where he was thinking aloud, which for those of us that were in the car was no big deal, but the people that were outside the car that happened to be able to hear it because the window was down, shot us all ugly looks or whatever. It was an awkward moment. It wasn't like an inflammatory thing, like nobody was trying to come after us or anything, but it was embarrassing, I believe, is the overall takeaway. And so from that point on, anytime somebody would think out loud, like think of something out loud that was inappropriate or was, possibly inflammatory or whatever, we say, window is down. It was kind of a joke, but also warning, hey, you're expressing that thought. And it's like, and a lot of people would just be like, oh crap, sorry, my bad. Or just be like, no, I don't care. Leave the window down. Let them hear. You can see how that would have been a funny story if I told it right? Like you can see how that would have been funny. You'll use it. You will. You'll be interacting in your normal life, and one of your friends will say something. You'll be like, "Dude, windows down." And you'll be like, "What?" And you'll be like, "Oh, let me tell you this not so cool story, and why I used that word, and why you should too." But I don't know. I think I might be hungry, folks. I think my attention is wandering. I'm thinking about rice crackers. Oh yeah, that sounds really good right now. I found some good ones here, actually. One I'd never had before. It's a seaweed and soy sauce rice cracker, like arare, I believe it was called, nori, but it's not nori. It doesn't have a ton of seaweed around it, but it has a sweetness to it that makes me crave it. And yeah, I was very happy to find it. True story. But anyway, commentary will ramp up when we start the next episode. I'll come in. I mean, these usually do better when I start earlier in the day, but it's just been really hard for me to roll out of bed. It's going to be interesting when I start working again, because I have not had to do that for a little while now, and the discipline is just not there. So I'm trying to get into that. Do physical, do my exercise in the morning, do these videos in the morning, and try to develop more of a schedule. But I have not been doing great at it. So yeah, we'll need a little more work on self-control, discipline, those sorts of things. I think I'm changing the face at this point. I don't know why, because as you saw, there's very few times, especially if you don't die a lot, there's very few times where you really get to see what your avatar looks like. But I think that's going to do it, and I will catch you the next time. Thanks for joining.